Hey everybody, and welcome back to Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley.
I am Connor Kongs. I'm happy to report that our translating dragon's breath inducers are at maximum sparkle level 3, so we're all good.
Yes, the elf drive or something. Anyway, we are talking today about episode 7 of season 2 of Lower Decks, called Where Pleasant Fountains Lie, and lie as in tell a lie, which actually has two meanings for the A and B story, so that's really good. So anyway, yeah, this is an interesting episode, to say the least.
And it's worth pointing out, this is almost, we're getting now to the sort of the end of the season. Either it's a ramp up, or it's a setup, or it's starting to close out. So there's only 10 this year. This is yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, learned a lot about Billups. Which is interesting, and the one story I really cared about, the Boimler and Mariner story, was really good. The other one with Billups was kind of meh for me. This is more like one of the not so great episodes of TNG, I think, like one of the kind of mediocre ones. For Lower Decks, I think it's probably the same. It's kind of in that mediocre range. It's not bad by any means, and like I said, the Boimler and Mariner story with Jeffrey Combs as the computer was nice. There's even a little dig at CBS at the end. I don't know if you caught it. One of the intelligent AI computers has a CBS logo on it, which I thought was hilarious. What about you? What are your thoughts?
I liked it. It's hard to not like the Lower Decks episodes, which is always nice. Both sides, because it really is, there's two stories, and it's very much slice of cake, split it in half, there you go, that's the story, that's the episode. I liked both. I liked both concepts. We like Billups, but he's like third tier character, and so it's weird to give. I mean, who would you even say in TNG would you give such a, I guess like Mott the Barber, giving him a full episode. It's like, it'd be interesting, but it would depend on how good the story is. But it doesn't add as much to the grand story. Slight simplification because he's different level. But I like the concept was so strong. I didn't think it went quite far enough, and I also think the reveal of. Well, we'll get into that in a minute, but I think it could have gone further to make it more fun, but I liked it. And then the Mariner and thingy, again, it wasn't full enough to quite reach the potential, but again, I liked all the things of it. So it's like everything's good, but again, doesn't quite hit the secret sauce as they aren't quite doing these days.
That's a pretty good summation, actually, because, yeah. I mean, I was just comparing the two stories, though. I think the Mariner and Boimler one was the standout for sure.
Well, less happens, though. It feels like less happens. They just walk through a desert and then plug a computer into a ship. Like, it isn't about the story, it's about the people. And it's good, but all it is just Boimler is stronger now. So when you break it down, it's so basic. So I'm not going to give it too much woohoo,
Well, for the time that they have for these Lower Decks episodes, I think they did a good job with character. Like character development, they definitely ramped up Boimler quite a bit in this episode, so that's good. Mariner still hasn't learned her lesson. She's still Mariner, which, I mean, she's been like this for how long, through promotions and demotions and 5 ships, so you don't expect her character to change too much. But Boimler's on that fast track. He wants to be that officer. He's served on the Titan now. He brings that up occasionally, and it really upsets Mariner, which I think is funny, because she served on 5 ships. I guess her ships were all like low-tier ships.
Well, and DS9.
I think she seems jealous.
But
well, yeah, but that's a station, though. You're doing grunt work probably on a station. Most people in Starfleet, right?
Sure, but during the Dominion War, it was the most important station of all the Federation, so it's still prestigious. I don't think she was annoyed so much at him bringing it up. I think she was annoyed that he was using a one-time achievement as a crutch for quality. You were on the Titan for 3 months, and then you got thrown off the Titan because of a transporter clone. So it's more that does not make you great. It's like if you serve the Enterprise D as a waiter, you can say, well, I served the Enterprise D. How so? I was a waiter for 2 days. So there isn't really any credit there. I do think he deserves credit, but she's. I mean, it's still the Chadic relationship where she's trying to teach him to not be too arrogant about it. I don't think he is. I think he's very entitled to say, I learned this on the Titan. I think she was overreacting, but obviously they did just crash. They might die. It all compounds them being a bit over the top. And it's also low deck, so it's got to be over the top.
Well, I mean, the fact that she went to Ransom and said that, he's not ready to do the other mission. really kind of annoyed me. You think that Ransom would check with him first, because Ransom even said to her, so he's not ready for this. He doesn't want to do this. You think he would check. He wouldn't just send it to his pad reassignment. You know what I mean? So I think that kind of says not great things about Ransom, unfortunately, as a first officer.
Well, I mean, they're so unimportant people. Let's be honest. I mean, that's the point. They are the lower decks people. I thought that Mariner can actually influence him. Sort of says more about their relationship, which I thought was interesting. But I was waiting for the double reveal that I didn't actually want you on that mission. I wanted you here. Like, I got you assigned to this mission because X, Y, and Z. So there was a reason behind the he's not ready, which is like, well, I mean, it was a dangerous mission, but if other officers are doing it, Bajoran guy literally died and came back. I mean, the stakes aren't exactly at the same high level that they could be in other shows. There would need to be another little twist of that. Luckily, just having him be, the MVP of the situation, and by the end, kind of, she admits she's wrong. But then obviously fighting giant scorpion, whatever creatures, isn't the same as this. So it was. But again, she wasn't overpowered. They've really toned down Mariner to be a very balanced character. Good. She has less presence for that, obviously, but it feels like a nice ensemble show.
But they did still maintain her toughness, like the fact she had a fractured arm and sets it and doesn't complain about it or anything.
Yeah, but I mean, lots of people can do that. I mean, you'd think Worf could do that, and Riker could probably do. That is a normal in the hierarchy of, we're badasses. So
Jeffrey Combs as the computer, I mean, another character to add to his repertoire for Star Trek. I thought was great. It makes me feel better in situations like this, being plugged into a shuttle computer.
That was a joke that almost got old, but luckily they kept finding new ways of saying it. And he is the alumni that's had the most to do out of any, which is great, and he definitely felt like a character. I wish there was a bit more to it, a bit more depth, but it's literally a computer. It's like giving Landru a whole episode. There's only so much Landru could do without being a bit one-dimensional. But obviously the payoff moment is so rewarding that it all leads up that moment. And I love the fact that the drones that this guy creates are very similar to those made in TNG's Arsenal of Freedom. Very similar vibe. I don't know how that equates. Maybe they sold them to him at some point or whatever. But that was a nice little touch. And the awkwardness of the first scene, it's like, yeah, we thought he was a god. This happens a lot. Don't worry, guys. This happens. That's good. That was a good meta commentary.
And the fact he almost tricked Ransom bugged me. I thought Ransom was just playing along. Oh, throw you into that computer console near that network terminal over there. Yeah, I could. Wait a minute. I don't know if he was playing along or not. I thought he was at first, but I wasn't 100% sure. And it came off as he was actually serious. If it was more like the whole time he was like, oh, yeah. The fact he mentioned the network terminal makes me wonder, though, if it was like, if he was just messing with it, but I don't know.
Well, I took that more as, you're out with your friends and someone says something, you haven't quite heard them, so you're like, oh, yeah. And then your brain clicks as like, well, that's what you said. So I just thought, he just wasn't really listening. Because why would you listen to the evil computer? Like, fully? Like, is this little box in a box? So I can imagine, then he clicked in. So I'm absolutely fine with that. I liked the Starfleetness of it, the simple moment where they say, well, why can't we just bury it or destroy it? And they say, no, we can't. Starfleet values. And she's like, God damn it, you're right. It was good. It was simple but effective, and it reflects what it needed to be. And even the moment when he stuns Mariner was rather effective. Because at the end of the day, it's just a stun. It isn't the same as shooting, but it does play that strong, which is great. It was. And I didn't see it directly coming, although something's up. But I didn't know which way it was going to go, so I liked that.
Let's switch over to the Billups and Rutherford story. It was interesting, because obviously Captain Freeman has dealt with this lady before. This is kind of like the Loxana Troy for this crew, which I thought was funny, because first time, what do you need from us this time? And then you get the reveal that it's actually Billups' mother, which is hilarious. It was quite interesting in the culture. And the ship, my God, it's so extravagant on the outside. And the fact that they still, I guess because it's Ren Fair, and they dock like the old style NX-01 era with the... I thought that was interesting instead of beaming over. That being said, the Cerritos could have beamed them over, but because it's royalty, it was probably the whole red carpet thing, the entrance, that kind of thing. But yeah, what did you think of the ship when you saw it?
Well, just the whole thing's a fantastic concept, and it was well thought out. Although once I was doing screen caps for it, and you realize there isn't that much depth to the joke. I wish there was a few more bits and bobs, a few more rooms, a few more. But that's because I like the idea so much. One thing I thought when she first appears on the screen, you obviously get the reference of you're the only Federation ship in the quadrant, which is obviously both a lie and a joke to all Star Trek, because it's, of course they aren't, but that's the joke. But I liked how the mum looked the exact same age as the son, and the son is not, he's going to be at least in his 40s, which I appreciated because in the Trek world, you look like you're 30 until you're 60 or 70, because medical tech is such. So they looked exactly, like, it could have been I thought it was his wife, based on the view screen, because she looked exactly the same age. There was no age markers, which I would thought was really, like, just good for the context of the world, you know, which also means, if that is a consistent theme, is Mother Freeman, like, 70, because she has grey hair? And then Mariner, I mean, I think Mariner's at least in her mid-30s, so, you know, whichever. But it's a small thing, but I quite like that, because they could have taken it anywhere, your wife, your daughter even, they could have been, you know. But it was a fun ship. Not that much to say per se, but I like the Dragon engine room. I like that. It was all fun stuff for sure. I just wish there was a bit more of it, a bit more. You know, they could have focused more, had a bit more of those gags.
That being said, the intro to the ship was very cinematic. Like seeing the Cerritos from the behind, that was such a great shot. And then you see the other ship come in, and then even from the side, the pull up like this. I thought that was very well done. Yeah, absolutely. One thing I found interesting too, well, it kind of messed with my expectations a little bit, is when him and Rutherford are going onto the ship, and he's like, "Gotta warn you, the culture is very, you know, distracting." I expected like scantily clad women everywhere, you know, hedonistic kind of thing. Didn't quite get that. You got the one dancer doing her thing, and the guards, of course, had the interesting uniform. That line made me think there's going to be much more hedonistic vibe, but it was just more of an elegance vibe, like huge paintings everywhere, much like a castle, which was interesting.
Yeah, I was definitely expecting from that line that Rutherford would get tempted away, because he's still a guy, he fancies ladies, or both, whichever. I was expecting him to be, like, given another engineer lady's like, "Oh, you love the Dragon's Breath too? Oh, yeah," and, like, find that common love to distract Billups, to distract away from Billups. Or maybe even, like, to give him the throne. Like, I was expecting some twist with him. I felt Rutherford was oddly sidelined, even though he was literally... I mean, he was there as a ride-along, but he was literally there as a ride-along. He didn't really provide much personality in the scenes. You know, he was there, he said some lines, he died, he helped rescue, but none of that was overly character-filled. It was just something they did. So I was kind of surprised by that. It was good, it's fine, just again... That's, like I said earlier, the limit of episode length makes a huge difference. Speaking of, though, then, the Rutherford dying moment doesn't work on a few ways, or at least the way they present it, because you would think the thing exploded, right? Why haven't they scanned the ship? Well, Tendi does scan the ship, she finds his implants. Like, one single scan of the area would find him. So, to have the doctor say he's dead, given they've clearly not done a modicum of research or checking, like, you would scan... for his body, his life science technology, his comm badge. So that was a hugely flawed moment, the fact that she could find him.
Yeah, it was a little odd. Because I think what was happening was they were probably jamming his communicator. So if you said, "Locate Ensign Billups," or Ensign Rutherford, the computer would say, you know, "Can't." But she went straight for the implant idea, which you would assume that the bridge crew would probably do too. But, I mean, that's an interesting point, actually.
Because it was... literally that easy, and yet the official coroner doctor already pronounced him dead. I was expecting, though, him actually to be dead, and then him to come back at the end of the episode and be like, the same way Strax did. I was expecting that to be like, oh my god, he literally came back, and be like, oh wow, that I was really waiting for, and so the fact he was just kidnapped was a bit of a letdown for me, because I thought that would have been really interesting.
I mean, it could have definitely been the case, considering Tendi says, you know, at least a small part of him's still alive. I assume she'd find, like, his implant, and it turns out that this other ship has, like, a cloning facility or something, that they could clone him back, like, more advanced tech in a way. Call it some kind of mythical thing, like, you know. That's kind of what I was expecting when she said that there's a small piece of him still alive. Totally not the case, but...
And did she get approval to go on that ship? Like, you can't just walk into the Crown Royal ship unannounced. But she did, and it felt a bit odd.
It did feel a bit odd, yeah, but...
Yeah, again, lack of time to develop it. But I guess we've got to give Tendi something to do, which is fine. But they could have been more with that. And I did quite like, you know, trying to... It's such an obscenely silly you know, we just have to make him have sex. That is the plot. And I know people online have said, you know, that comparing that to the masturbatory alien 2 episodes ago, I think this falls on the line of this is still funny because it's all implied and you know, under the belt, but the trousers are still on. That was like flaunting it. Here you go. I thought it was, you know, apt for this sort of show. I mean, look at the Naked Now in TNG. I mean, Tasha's just. I mean, this is a similar sort of scene, so I had no problem with that. And you know, it's like that's the plot, is it? Yeah.
Right after the explosion, and you see, like, as soon as this explosion happens, and you see the guy say, "Oh, and the queen is dead," and he has this piece of fabric in his hands for Billups. I immediately said she faked. I thought in my head that she faked her death. Like, it wasn't a reveal at all. That was kind of disappointing in a way, but I don't know if they were intending for people to think that it was legit, or if, you know, they knew that the writing was on the wall. But I thought that was kind of a letdown a little bit.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it would have been more interesting if she had died. Let's be honest. Like if she sacrificed herself, which I could see, given how intense she was, I could see that being quite a strong plot. She values it that much. But yeah, it was pretty obvious, and I'm wondering, you know, also her deception would have lasted minutes. Once he'd had sex, come on board, we're like, "Hey, you did it!" and he would have hated her for the rest of his life. You know, I mean, it's not a clever deception by any means, but it's just like, well, there's no end game there. That's gonna make every party got to work together.
Yeah, so there were a few problems with that storyline. It wasn't my favorite, like I said, of the episodes. Really, the Boimler growth was like what I enjoyed the most.
Well, it felt like a super standard TNG episode, both parts together. You had the silly people come on board, and you had the serious character doing something engineering. Like, it was a very TNG episode. It wasn't too far, it wasn't too whatever. Characterful, but not too much. So I thought it was quite well balanced. 2 small things before I sort of end of my thoughts. One, I loved the Star Wars reference from Force Awakens, where Mariner and Boimler come down the sand hill and go to the ships. Because it literally was Star Destroyer engines and a hill where Rey came down. It was an extremely similar visual. Can't have been a coincidence. You don't, like, those could have been any engines. That was Star Destroyer. That was fun. Although, to counter on that, if you crash on an alien planet, why aren't you including other ships we know and see that have crashed? Like, to have like, I was trying to see who was the alien who was the captain in the captain's chair for the alien thing. And no, I don't recognise the alien. Why wasn't that a Klingon? I was thinking, couldn't that have been Krug-style bird of prey with that bridge? Or a Andorian, or a TOS ship? That would have been the better payoff. You know, have it be something, a familiar ship which you could rebuild, and given that real depth to the scene, rather than just throwaway ship, throwaway bridge, moving on. Imagine if that'd been a TOS cruiser, or you know, like, that would have been amazing. If this is a desolate landscape of crashed ships, have them be ships we know. I know that's just for reference sake, but if it could be anything, why do generic ships that don't mean anything? It could be something really clever.
Well, I think it's for that very simple reason that they do a lot of references, strict references for referential sake in this show. I kind of thought that was interesting to have a new ship and a new alien. I like the alien look. The captain in the chair looked really cool. And maybe they'll show up again in Lower Decks, and we'll learn more about them. But yeah, you are right. It could have been something more referential. I'm not disappointed that it wasn't, though. I know we would have loved to talk about it if there was a bridge that we recognized or something. That would have been awesome, but I'm happy either way.
Like, imagine if it had been like a Ferengi Decora, which is not something that we see loads of, and it's just a Ferengi bridge. And like, that's no great victory of, wow, oh my god. It adds extra oomph. Otherwise, that scene, it is purely on the merits of the scene, and it's good. But if it had been X, Y, and Z as well, especially if it had been a TOS set, which was my first inclination, then as soon as they turned power on, you know, there were TOS L cars, they could have sent a signal, you hear TOS Classic, you know, maybe a computer saying, working. America make a joke about, will this thing even get to Starfleet because it's the tech so old? Like, there could have been something fun there. So just missed opportunity, easy opportunity, but you know, kind of my last thought on that, really.
All right, so yeah, in conclusion for me, this was kind of a middle of the road as far as the season goes. One story I really enjoyed, the other one not so much. So it was just kind of an episode for me. But yeah, that's kind of my summation.
And my summation, just like a lot of the season, it's been good, but not reached the heights of season 1. The stories haven't quite hit the same extra passionate, extra cool element. And while fun, nice, but not quite hitting the mark.
I guess that's it for us, guys, or from us. Put your comments down below what you thought about this episode in the comments section. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, do all those fun things. Join the channel if you're able to, and make sure the notification icon is clicked to all. That's super important because you get to be notified every time we upload and have lives, which we do lots of, because we love talking about this kind of stuff with you guys.
And of course, if you can, please do support us with Super Chats, with PayPal, with buying shirts, cool things down below, or just those likes, subscribes, and comments. It does all help the algorithm, but if you can, join the lives and Super Chat or buy Patreon, PayPal, it is... Thank you. Please. Yes, thank you.
So, he just said thank you, and I'm saying thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Until then, he's Commander Cockings.
He's Captain Foley.
And we'll see you guys in the future.
Bye, guys.